Good morning, everybody. Glad to have you here today. Thank you for joining me. Appreciate you being here. If you will, like, share, comment on the post, and then you can follow along in the book of Second Peter, chapter 3, verse number 11. Peter says this here. He says, "Since all these things are thus to be dissolved, what sort of people ought you to be in lives of holiness and godliness, waiting for and hastening the coming of the day of God, because of which the heavens will be set on fire and dissolved, and the heavenly bodies will melt as they burn." This is the question, the most important question I think that believers can answer is this question: what sort of people ought you to be? What sort of people ought you to be? Because, and here's where that question, what he's basing that question on. He says, because this world is ending, because all these things that we know will be dissolved, the heavens and the earth, because of the fall of man, because of sin. He says all these things are going to be dissolved, and we're going to stand before God. He says, what kind of people should we be? And he tells us there. He says, in specific, when he says, what kind of people should we be? He says, what kind of people should we be in the areas of holiness and godliness? What kind of people should we be? Well, I think obviously he's saying the answer is we should be holy and godly in all things. To be holy means to be set apart for God, to be used by God, separate from the world, not living a life of worldliness, but living a life that is set apart to God. And then godliness is, again, pretty obvious what that word means. We do everything with God in mind, because we love Him, because we adore Him, because of who He is. We do everything with that in mind. And He tells us, He's because this world is coming to an end, that this world is ending, and we look forward to that day. And as we live godly and holy lives, we are to be looking forward to that day, to be looking forward to that time, because this world, again, he says that these heavens, these earths, that they're going to be dissolved. They're going to be burnt away. And so we ought to live holy and godly lives. So that, as the Bible says, that we love the day of His appearing. And I'll leave you with a story I heard. I have no idea where I heard this or who to give credit to, but it's a great little story. It talks about a little boy that his mama baked this nice cake and got it all iced and sitting on the table, and she realizes she needs something at the store, and so she tells him, she says, "Honey, I'm going to the store. I've got to go pick up something, but don't you dare touch this cake." And you know how that works. She goes on, gets in the car, goes to the store, and that little cake just starts calling that little boy, and he knows what Mama said. But before long, he's in there, and he's already, he's stuck a finger and raked off a big chunk of icing, and he's got ice from all over his face. And about that time, he hears Mama pull back in the driveway. Now that little boy still loves his mother, but he doesn't love her appearing. Why? Because he was guilty. Same thing here. How should we live? How ought we to live in holiness and godliness so that we love His appearing? We should live in all holiness and godliness because we know this world is passing by. The question this morning is not only how ought we to live, but how are we living in holiness and godliness? Only you can answer that question for you. Have a good one. We'll see you here tomorrow morning.